Before the truth comes the betrayal. Before betrayal. Stories you will never forget.
The cake dripped down my face in thick, sugary clumps. Vanilla and raspberry filling slid down my cheek, catching on the edge of my veil before falling onto my white gown. The crowd froze. Forks stopped midair, champagne glasses hung suspended. The DJ's playlist stumbled into static silence. And then laughter. Laughter that cut like glass. Not from strangers. Not from tipsy guests. But from my brand new husband, Ethan. He was bent over, laughing so hard he actually wiped tears from his eyes. I remember blinking through the frosting, waiting for him to realize that the joke wasn't funny, that the woman standing there, giggling beside him with an empty handful of cake, wasn't just a random friend. 'Twas Chloe. His work bestie. The one he swore was like a sister. "Babe," Ethan gasped between laughs, reaching out to dab frosting from my chin. "It's just a prank. Lighten up, come on. It's our wedding." My heart thudded so loud I could hear it in my ears. My hands trembled. Everyone around us laughed. Awkward, forced laughter, but still laughter. My mother's lips parted in horror. My maid of honor, Grace, looked like she was about to stand up and throw a punch. But I didn't move. I just stood there in my lace gown with cake dripping down my neck, trying not to cry in front of 200 people. Trying to understand why his coworker thought she could humiliate me like that. And why my husband thought it was funny. Ethan leaned in close and whispered, "Don't ruin this, Lily. Everyone's watching." Something in me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a small hairline fracture that made the rest of the night blur into slow-motion fragments. Later, when the guests danced and the lights dimmed, I went to the bathroom and locked the door. My face was clean now, but I could still smell the sweetness of the frosting in my hair. I looked at myself in the mirror, at the woman who was supposed to be on top of the world, and all I saw was humiliation hiding behind mascara and false lashes. A soft knock on the door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. "Lily." "It's me," Grace whispered. "Are you okay?" I opened the door a crack. She stepped in, her eyes fierce. "That was not a prank. That woman, what's her name again?" "Chloe," I muttered. "She's obsessed with Ethan." I saw the way she looked at him during the vows. I swallowed hard. I wanted to tell Grace she was overreacting. That Chloe was just being stupid, not malicious. But deep down, something dark twisted inside me. A flicker of memory. The late-night text. The way Ethan always smiled when her name popped up. The team dinners I wasn't invited to because they were work only. I forced a smile. "It's fine." Maybe she had too much champagne. Grace's eyebrows shot up. "You don't believe that." I didn't. But I needed to. Because if I didn't believe it, then I'd have to admit something much worse. That I married a man who laughed while another woman threw cake in my face. The reception carried on like nothing had happened. Music, dancing, laughter. And through it all, I played the perfect bride. I smiled, posed for photos, kissed Ethan on cue. But every time I looked at him, I saw Chloe's frosting-covered hand. Her smirk. The way Ethan's laughter had echoed over mine. As the night wound down, Ethan came up behind me on the dance floor, wrapping his arms around my waist. His breath brushed my ear. "You okay now, Mrs. Lewis?" "Sure," I whispered, forcing my smile. "Just peachy." He chuckled, squeezing my hip. "That's my girl. I knew you wouldn't make a big deal." Something sharp and bitter rose in my throat. I swallowed it down. Across the room, Chloe stood by the bar, nursing a glass of champagne, eyes locked on Ethan. When our gazes met, she smiled. Not shyly, not apologetically, but with the smug confidence of someone who knew a secret. And suddenly I knew. Not the details. Not the when or how. But the truth. The honeymoon suite was a blur of forced tenderness. Ethan tried to kiss me, to make jokes, to act normal. I lay there stiff, pretending my headache was worse than it was. He eventually turned on his side and fell asleep, snoring softly. I sat up, staring at his phone charging on the nightstand. The screen lit up. Chloe kiss mark. Hope the bride didn't mind too much winking face, you looked so hot in your tux. My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone with trembling hands, the room spinning. My chest tightened as message after message appeared. Some from before the wedding, others from tonight. Chloe. Still can't believe you're going through with it. Ethan. You know I have to. Just play nice. Chloe. Fine. But one day she'll know. Ethan. Let's not ruin tonight. She doesn't suspect anything. My world tilted. My breath came out in shallow bursts. My husband, my brand new husband, had texted his mistress at our wedding. The frosting on my face suddenly felt symbolic, like the universe's cruel joke. A warning I'd laughed off. I sat there, phone glowing in my palm, staring at the man I'd promised forever to. His chest rose and fell peacefully, completely unaware that the walls of our new life were already crumbling. For a fleeting second I wanted to scream, to throw the phone at him, to wake him up and demand answers. But instead I placed it back on the nightstand quietly and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights glittered. The world looked exactly the same. And I realized that my life, my marriage, was a lie wrapped in silk and frosting. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept replaying his laugh. That cruel, careless laugh. The next morning, Ethan was all smiles, ordering breakfast in bed like nothing had happened. He leaned in to kiss me, but I turned my face away. Still mad about the cake thing? He asked with a lazy grin. Come on, babe, it was just a joke. Yeah, I said softly, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. A joke. He didn't notice the way my hand trembled as I lifted my coffee. He didn't notice how I couldn't meet his eyes. He just kept talking about the honeymoon, about plans about us, while I silently planned something else entirely. Because I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. I wanted to see it. To catch him in the act. To make sure he could never lie his way out again. And when that moment came, I swore it wouldn't be me wearing the humiliation this time. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in pretending. Smiled. I played the perfect wife. I texted my parents updates from the honeymoon, sent pictures of beaches and sunsets, and captioned them with hollow words like paradise and bliss. Ethan didn't notice the distance. He never does. He was too busy answering work calls that always ended with him stepping outside, too busy checking emails at midnight when I pretended to be asleep. By day I memorized his patterns. By night, I scrolled through his phone when he left it unattended, reading through the messages that confirmed every suspicion I'd been too afraid to face. They weren't just having an affair. They were in love. Or at least she thought they were. Chloe. You looked miserable in those photos. Tell me you miss me. Ethan. You know I do. I just need to keep her calm for now. Chloe. So what's the plan? Divorce her once the dust settles. Ethan. Eventually. I just need access to her investment first. That message broke something deep inside me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was calculation. He'd married me for my money. The business I'd built from scratch, the company my father left me, the savings I had scraped together over years. And I'd handed it all over to him with trembling vows and teary eyes. When we got back home, I began to act. Slowly, carefully. Ethan thought I was trying to move on. I made dinner, laughed at his jokes, asked him about work. He relaxed. The more comfortable he became, the sloppier he got. One Thursday night, he left his phone unlocked on the counter while he showered. I opened his messages again, and this time I took screenshots. Every word, every picture, every timestamp. I sent them to my own email, created a secret folder, and printed copies that I kept in a sealed envelope labeled insurance. Grace was the only person who knew. When I showed her the evidence, her jaw clenched. Lily, he doesn't deserve confrontation, she said. He deserves exposure. She was right. So I started to plan. Our first dinner party as a married couple was scheduled for the following Saturday. Ethan had invited his co-workers, including Chloe, because it would look weird to exclude her. I pretended to agree. I smiled and said, "Of course, darling. She's part of the team." Inside, I was trembling with anticipation. I spent 2 days planning the evening. Flowers, music, food, every detail curated to perfection. I wanted everything flawless, because perfection would make what came next hit harder. When the night arrived, I looked radiant. Ivory silk dress, diamond earrings, red lips. I greeted guests at the door with practiced warmth, even Chloe, who arrived last, wearing a short silver dress and an overconfident smile. "Lily," she said, her tone dripping with fake politeness. "You look stunning." "You too," I replied smoothly. "Ethan mentioned you'd be coming." He smirked. "Well, I couldn't miss my favorite couple's big night." Her eyes flicked to Ethan. He smiled back. Too quickly, too warmly. I caught it, that silent exchange that used to slip past me. But not tonight. Dinner was perfect. Laughter, clinking glasses, candlelight. I played my part flawlessly. Even let Ethan squeeze my hand under the table. Chloe laughed too loudly at his jokes, touched his arm once too often. My friends exchanged glances, but I just smiled and poured more wine. Halfway through dessert, I rose from my seat. "Before we continue," I said, my voice calm, "I want to show everyone something special." Ethan blinked. "Oh, what's that, babe?" "Just a little video montage," I said sweetly. "Of our wedding." I put it together myself. The projector flickered to life. The screen showed a slideshow of our wedding, our vows, our first dance, the laughter. Guests smiled. Then came the cake scene. Chloe mid-throw, frosting flying. Laughter rippled awkwardly. And then the footage changed. Screenshots, text, photos. Each slide more damning than the last. Ethan and Chloe's messages, projected in high definition for everyone to see. Ethan: "You know I only married her for the company shares." Chloe: "When will it be our turn?" Ethan: "Soon, babe. Just trust me." A gasp rippled through the room. The laughter died instantly. Ethan jumped to his feet. "Lily, what the hell is this?" I turned to him slowly, keeping my tone even. "It's our love story. Or should I say, your version of it." Chloe's face drained of color. How did you?" Smiled. "I was just following your advice. You said I should lighten up, remember?" The room was silent except for the faint hum of the projector. Grace stood in the corner, arms crossed, looking almost proud. Ethan's co-workers avoided his gaze. One of them muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. Ethan reached for me, desperation creeping into his eyes. "Lily, it's not what it looks like. She was blackmailing me." "Oh, save it," I cut in, stepping back. "You can't blackmail a man into saying he only married his wife for her money." He froze, realizing there was no escape. The slideshow ended on one final image. Chloe's text from the night of our wedding. "Chloe, hope the bride didn't mind too much winking face, you looked so hot in your tux." I clicked the remote and the lights came back on. Ethan stood in stunned silence, Chloe shaking beside him. The humiliation in the air was thick, electric. Every guest's eyes were on them. I leaned close to Ethan's ear and whispered, "Now we're even." Then I turned, grabbed my wine glass and walked out. The divorce moved quickly. My lawyers handled everything. Ethan tried to apologize, begged for another chance, even cried once, but I'd already mourned the man I thought I married. All that was left was paperwork. Chloe vanished from his company 2 weeks later. Rumor said she'd been fired after HR received anonymous screenshots of her messages with a married superior. I didn't confirm or deny it. Some mysteries are best left unsolved. Months passed. The whispers died down. My business thrived. My heart still ached sometimes. Betrayal doesn't dissolve overnight, but I no longer carried the shame. I turned it into armor. One evening I received a message from an unknown number. Unknown. "You didn't have to ruin me." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "Me? You ruined yourself. I just turned on the lights." Then I put the phone down, walked outside, and watched the sunset, gold and scarlet bleeding together in the sky. For the first time since that humiliating prank, I laughed. Not bitterly, not broken, but free.